We all said, "Turn it on, Daddy." I knew Dad was kind of disappointed by the way Mama had acted. She really hurt his feelings by walking off like that. Some of the time, I think she forgot how sensitive Dad was. Even though he acted cheery with us, I knew it wasn't the same for him now. I knew if Mama had stayed and hadn't gone off mumbling about money, we would have been having a lot more fun. But Dad forgot all this stuff real quick and got excited about showing off the record player. Dad was like me. He loved putting on a show, or as Mama said, we both love acting the fool. Dad was the best at it, though, and I couldn't wait until I was as good as he was. Well, 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 Dad said, leaning down into the car. I see you three have the ultimate in taste. I see you've chosen the top of the line, the cream of the crop, the true tone, AB 700 model, the Ultra Glide. We had to, 'cause right on the front of the record player in big red letters it said Double T AB 700 Ultra Glide. As I'm certain you are aware, the problem in the past with this new technology in automotive sound has been road vibrations interfering with an accurate dispersal of the phonic interpretations. Huh? Byron said. Dad said, in other words, I'm sure you know that in the good old days, every time you drove over a bump with one of these things, the needle would jump and scratch the record. Me and Joey played along. We know. And as I'm sure such a fine, intelligent-looking family as this one, it is Mr. and Mrs. Watson and your son, isn't it? Oh, no, Joetta said and pointed at Byron. This isn't our son. This is just a little juvenile delinquent boy that we feel sorry for and let us follow us around some of the time. Our real son has hair. Even this didn't bother Byron, who was amazed by the Brown Bomber's latest addition. Dad kept imitating the guy who sold him the record player. Yes, as I'm sure a nice family like this one is aware, it was only last year that the scientists at Autotronic Industries made a brilliant, beautiful, breathtaking breakthrough and developed a suitable system for controlling these vibrations. Yeah, I said. I saw it last night on the news. Walter Cronkite said it was a miracle. Dad laughed. Precisely, Mr. Watson. Walt has 2 of these babies in his car and 1 on his motorcycle. We know. Yes, the vibration problem has been overcome by the exclusive vibrodynamic lateral anti-interior dampening system. Dad had memorized the word because right on the arm of the record player it said VDLAI dampening patented. Come on, Daddy, turn it on. Stop teasing. Now, Mrs. Watson, be patient and tell that little delinquent that follows you around that if he touches one more knob on that record player, I'm going to pull his fingers off. Byron mumbled and sat back in the seat. Before I dazzle you with the symphonic sound of this unit, let me point out some of its less appreciated features. Oh, please do. Aw, man, just turn the blank thing on. If I gotta listen to all this jive, I'm gonna go in the house and get some real cool sounds. Byron opened the passenger door and ran into the house. Now, Mr. and Mrs. Watson, I'd like to direct your attention to the rear of the classic automobile. Me and Joey crawled up on the back seat and looked at the back window. On the rear shelf, a hole had been cut and was covered with that same stuff that's on the screen door. I can see you're wondering what that is. Well, let me explain. What we have here is, believe it or not, a second speaker. And I can tell by that intelligent look on your face, Mrs. Watson, that you have grasped that that speaker is not placed in the rear deck haphazardly. No, ma'am. Some people think we just have a hole hacked in the back there by an old mechanic, but nothing could be further from the truth. That opening is scientifically and mathematically positioned by a factory-trained technician to enhance the Double T AB 700's true high-fidelity sound. Wow! Byron exploded through the front door with an armful of 45s, and Mama right on his tail. Byron Watson, don't you stomp on those stairs like that, and don't you slam that screen door. She trailed Byron all the way to the car, fussing at him the whole way. I knew she was using Byron as an excuse to come back and see what was going on. I guess all the laughing and fun we were having made her want to join in. Now that she was back, Dad really started cutting up. "Well, well, well, Mrs. Watson," Dad said, but not to Mama, to Joey. "I see your beautiful young daughter has decided to join us, and not a moment too soon either. Why don't you scoot over a bit and let her in?" Joey loved this chance to pretend she was Mama's mom. She patted the seat next to her and said, "Come on in, honey. This is really cool." Mama slid in under the steering wheel with a halfway smile on her face. "Wonderful, wonderful," Dad said. Byron lifted the record that was already on the turntable and started putting one of his own cool songs on. "Put it back, son. You'll get your turn. First, we have a special request from a certain young lady to a certain handsome young man. If you'll excuse me, ma'am, I'll just reach over here and get the show on the road." Dad reached over past Mama to start the car, but on this way, his hand kind of accidentally, on purpose, brushed her chest. Boy, did they think we were blind? Even though Dad thought he was being slick, everybody saw this. Mama puckered up her lips to squeeze down a smile and crossed her arms over her chest. Joey giggled, and me and Byron scrunched our faces up. Mama did a fakety little slap at his hand and smiled. Dad turned the key and the brown bomber fired up. "Okay, young lady, here's that special number you requested." Dad couldn't help himself and started imitating a disc jockey. "Here's the man with the patter, here to spin the platter. Why, it doesn't matter, 'cause the world is getting fatter. I'm the man with the tune that'll take you to the moon, that'll make your poor heart swoon. I'll hold you like a spoon. I'm the man with the jive." Byron chirped up. "Ain't that the whole natural truth?" But Dad didn't miss a beat. "Put your love thing in drive. Bring your little world alive." Mama slapped the car seat. "Daniel, start that record." All right. Dad stopped his rhyming, not because Mama told him to, but I guess because he ran out of stupid poems. But first, let me tell you people out there in Radioland that this number was requested by Miss Wylona Sands for the wonderful, wonderful man in her life, the big daddy of love, Daniel Watson. We at Flint's only soul station, Wham, dedicated this song to Daniel from Wylona. Spin it, maestro. Dad reached over past Mama to start the record player. Joey grabbed my arm with one hand and squealed into the other one. Byron was grinning like a giant bald-headed kindergarten baby. Mama still had her arms crossed but was starting to smile. She brought one hand over to cover her mouth. My foot was tapping on the brown bomber's floor a mile a minute, and I couldn't make it stop no matter what I did. I guess I was grinning pretty hard, too. Dad's hand touched a knob that had "Start" written on it, but before he turned it, he pulled his hand back and said, "First, however," we all screamed, "Daddy!" "Aw, man! Come on, Dad!" "Daniel!" But Dad wasn't through yet, and you couldn't rush him. In fact, the more you complained, the longer he'd take. He put his hand to the stop. "But first, we at Wham want to apologize to the 9 other women who called in requesting love songs to be dedicated to Daniel Watson. If they stay tuned, we'll play their songs later in the evening." Mama said, "That's it," and started climbing out of the car. It was a fun "that's it," though, not a serious one. Dad blocked the door and finally turned the knob that said "Start." Then he got back into the back seat. We all froze. Even the brown bomber seemed to get quieter as the VDLAI arm from the record player lifted itself and moved toward a 45 that was on the turntable. The arm dropped, and a hollow little boom bounced around in the car. A moment of silence, and then the most beautiful notes of music I'd ever heard come from the front of the car and the back of the car at the same time. Boom, da doom, 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 da doom, 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 da doom, doom, doom. The notes were so deep and strong it felt like we were sitting inside a giant bass fiddle. Mama screamed and put both of her hands over her mouth. She recognized her song after the first couple of notes. The guy on the record started singing The guy on the record player started singing Under the Boardwalk. And I had to turn around and look because it sounded like he was right in the back seat with Dad. We sat in the car for almost 2 hours as everybody got a chance to go in the house and get their favorite records. Even though we had a pretty good record player in the house, it couldn't compare with the sounds that came from the scientifically and mathematically put in speakers that the brown bomber had. The Ultra Glide cast a spell on all of the weird Watsons. Byron was always saying that Mama couldn't stand to see anyone having too much fun. But to be fair to her, I have to say that she stopped us from having fun in steps instead of doing it all at once. First, she thought the music was too loud and made us turn it down some. Then, after all the kids got a chance, after all of us kids got a chance to play 4 songs, I played Yakety Yak. All 4 of my times. She made us get out of the car, and she and Dad played Nat King Cole and Dinah Washington and all the other mushball singers. Then she said to Dad, "Did you tell them yet?" Uh-oh. I leaned into the car to get a look at Mama's stomach. This sounded like the way Byron and me found out we were going to get a sister. Everybody's ears jumped up. Something big was going on. Dad wasn't too comfortable with things like this and said, "No, it can wait." No, it can't. Mama let this last song finish, then said, "Turn it off, Daniel." Children, in a little bit, Daddy's going to get some vacation time, and we're going to drive to Alabama. Grandma Sands is going to keep Byron for the summer, and if things don't work out, he'll stay there for the next school year. This was too good to be true. A long trip in the brown bomber and no Byron for the whole summer? And probably for the whole year, because when it came to Byron, nothing ever worked out. Byron looked at Mama and Dad with his mouth wide open. "We've been telling you, Byron. You've been given warning after warning and chance after chance to straighten up. But instead of improving, you're getting worse. Do I have to remind you of the things you've done just this last year?" Byron still couldn't close his mouth. Mama started ticking off the things that Byron called his latest fantastic adventures. "You've cut school so much that Mr. Arms has come 3 times to see what's wrong with you. You've been lighting fires. You've been taking change out of my purse. You've been in fights. You had that trouble up at Mitchell's food fair. You had that problem with Marianne Hill. You set mouse traps in the backyard for birds. You fell out of the tree when you were trying to see if that poor cat always landed on its feet. You got that conch. You joined that gang. There's just too much, Byron. We can't have all this nonsense going on." I hope those weren't the only latest fantastic adventures that Mama knew about. I could list about 100 more. "That's why Grandma Sands is going to look after you for a while. You're about to run us crazy." Mama changed the tone of her voice. "You're going to like Birmingham, Byron. It's a lot different than Flint. There are a lot of nice boys, and nice boys your age down there who you can be friends with. There's lots of fishing and hunting that you can do. Things are a lot better there. I love that city. Your grandma tells me it's quiet in our old neighborhood. She says that the stuff on TV isn't happening around her, just like I remember it being. It's safe, it's quiet, and there's no butt head." Okay, now look for part 3.